Hey guys, this is Calvin with Improver, and in this video we're going to cover how to get senior leaders in your company or within your organization to embrace continuous improvement. Got a lot of questions recently from folks either in CI leadership type roles or supervisor roles who really believe in CI, and they just not getting the level of support they want from leadership. One of the things I had to realize in that type of role was that the job was only really 40% actual making process improvements and applying the principles you learned in school and throughout your career. The other 60% of the job was getting people to buy into CI. Really, it's more of a sales job than it is an actual execution job. And hopefully this video will help you sharpen that blade a little more. In this video, we'll discuss what does it mean to influence senior leaders to adopt continuous improvement. Why is this so important? What are some best practices? And of course, by the end, we're going to share a few tips on things you could do to increase your effectiveness in influencing leadership. So first off, what's it mean to influence leadership to adopt CI? It essentially means to convince leaders to adopt a mindset of CI and apply its principled approach to leadership. So as you gain more effectiveness at getting those senior leaders to adopt that CI mindset, you start to see a few characteristics develop, right? One is they start to develop a more long-term approach. They develop a growth mindset. And third of all, they become a little more customer focused. So let's dive into each of those here now. Regarding long-term approach, you're really looking to help them to solve short-term problems with long-term solutions. You're trying to get them away from the habit of putting band-aids and getting the instant gratification, and helping to develop solutions to problems that they see every day that will sustain in the long run. One of the problems you'd see developing in a lot of companies is that leaders come in and they're only there for about 2 or 3 years and then they're off to their next role. And as such, you see a sort of a tendency toward, let's put a band-aid on the problem and let's get through it for now. Let's get our numbers for today and then let's worry about tomorrow's problems tomorrow. Almost setting the future leaders up for failure in a sense. So here you're looking to really develop that long-term thought process around even short-term problems that you see every day. What things can we put in place so that these problems never come back in the future? Permanent solutions as opposed to temporary solutions. The second one here is growth mindset. And the growth mindset is one that is never content with the status quo. You want leaders to develop a mindset of never saying it is what it is. So as a CI leader, you're making progress when you start to see folks not only discontent with the status quo, but also willing to take action against the opportunities that they see. So the third one here is putting the customer first. And this can be a challenging one for a lot of people because a lot of folks came up to power and came into positions they have because they have sort of a rule the kingdom type of mindset. If you think of it that way, kingdom and queendoms, then it's let me protect my own selfish first interest. Let me protect my power first. And then if there's anything left, then we take care of everybody else. The leaders of tomorrow are going to be the ones who are best at applying science to running their business as opposed to just kind of sitting on the throne and dictating the way they want things done. The other piece here is to think buyer's market. A buyer's market is one in which the buyer has the power. Right? A seller's market is one where you can sell everything you make. A buyer's market is one where the buyer has many choices and you're one of many choices. So you're really giving the power to the buyer. So if you truly adopt that way of thinking, you're going to win when markets are down and when markets are up because buyers and sellers markets kind of switch back and forth with time. So the idea there is to put yourself in position that you're going to win no matter what the market is doing because you're putting the customer first and you have a buyer's market mentality. Why is it so important for you to influence senior leadership to adopt and embrace continuous improvement? And here's 3 excellent reasons. Number 1, it improves employee morale across the enterprise. Number 2, it accelerates business success. And of course, number 3, it develops a pipeline of talent. Let's dive into each of those here now. When we talk about improving employee morale, human beings aren't made to go into work, shut off their minds, hang up their jacket, don't think, don't make any changes, do as you're told, don't make any mistakes. And when you're done, clock out and go home and come back tomorrow and do the same thing. That's really not an existence that humans tend to enjoy. What makes us uniquely human is the aspect of creativity. When you give people a little more leeway, when you empower them to create and bring more value to the customer by putting the customer first, you got a powerful system for engaging people and helping them to get more satisfaction out of their work. Second one here is that it accelerates business success. It moves the business to the desired future state with less time and less resources consumed. The number one type of waste from the lean 8 daily waste is underutilized talent and ideas. This is an immense wealth that is sitting right there in your company that you may or may not be tapping into already. So if you're not giving folks the leeway to be creative and come up with good ideas to improve processes and bring more value to the customer, help the business to thrive, increase operating margins and all those wonderful things, then you're leaving a lot of meat on the bone in terms of what you could truly be accomplishing in your business. And of course, tapping into this resource just accelerates the business to its desired future state as long as people are clear about the direction that the company's moving. Number 3 here is that it develops the pipeline for talent. And the way it does that is by proliferating problem-solving capability and scientific thinking throughout the organization. Leaders of tomorrow will be scientific thinkers. If I'm building a company, am I going to rely on people who get lucky and get the answer right, or people who have a systematic way of producing consistently positive outcomes through the application of scientific thinking? Toyota's a prime example of this. At the time they got started in Japan, Japan had a reputation for very poor quality products. And they got some help from some American companies, Deming and some others. And of course, Toyota himself, the founder, was a very scientific minded person, very problem solving oriented. You got a company that was raised up in a culture of producing low quality products to become recognized as the world leading manufacturer and producing some of the greatest quality products in the world. Elon Musk is another great example of a scientific thinker. If you listen to how he thinks, listen to his thought process, very unassuming, very much anything is possible through the application of science. These are the leaders of the future. If you don't have that, then what you're relying on is instinct and judgment and intuition, which, if you look at the data and the statistics, is just not nearly as reliable as having a systematic scientific mindset. All right, so let's get to the good stuff. What are some best practices in influencing senior leaders to adopt a continuous improvement mindset? I think the key thing to understand here is that leaders are people just like anybody else, and they can be influenced, and in this case, they absolutely should be. And if they did not grow up in a lean or continuous improvement environment, then they probably don't understand their role in making continuous improvement a success within the company, right? They probably think it's just, let me hire somebody, check the box and I'm done. They probably don't realize that their actions, their way of thinking, their behaviors influence greatly whether or not CI will thrive within the company. So the continuous improvement leader is just as much or more of a salesperson, influencer, than they are someone who's out there just executing projects. I mean, if you got a leader who understands and knows what it is, then yeah, maybe you can get away with somebody who can help accelerate projects forward. But most of the time you get a leader who does understand, but the rest of the organization, many other leaders in the company don't get it. And for those folks, it's a sales job. So I'm gonna share with you a framework that I've used to great success with influencing leaders, both as an internal CI leader and as an external coach and consultant. That's worked great for me. It is number 1, demonstrate. Number 2, educate. Number 3, simulate. And number 4, activate. Let's jump into what we mean by each of those now. The first one is demonstrate. Demonstration is the single most powerful way to influence anyone to do anything. Human beings and just about every other animal in the animal kingdom naturally want to imitate and mimic things that they see working for others. So by demonstrating, by adopting the habit of daily improvement, by consistently delivering better and better results over time, by being willing to experiment, even if it means failing and accepting that failure and learning from it and then trying something else in the future, by adopting that thought process, adopting that behavior pattern, you can ultimately produce better and better results in your own scope of responsibility. And it puts you in a position of authority to convince others that they should adopt a similar behavior pattern. The second one there is educate. There is a whole universe of books and conferences and trainings and blogs and articles out there outside of your company or within other facilities within your company that you as a CI leader and influencer can leverage and get them to better understand where you're coming from. One of the most powerful ones on this list here is a book club, right? Usually leaders are good about reading and taking in new knowledge. So this is essentially setting up a regular cadence to meet and review a couple of chapters at a time and, share what you understand and have them share what they understand. And that's a great way to to not only build relationships, but also build a deeper understanding of the content there. The third one is to simulate. And what I mean by simulate is to provide a safe space for them to try out what it is that you are suggesting to them. A couple of things you can do there is have them participate in workshops. This is one of my personal favorites. This just provides them with a place to fail without the repercussions of those failures. A lot of time leaders are just resistant because they've never done it before, and they don't want to risk losing credibility if it goes badly. They don't want people to be able to attach a dollar amount to a bad decision they made or a mistake they made or experiment they conducted that didn't pan out. So by giving them a safe space to practice and hone their skills, you're giving them an opportunity to build their capability without the consequences that might come along in the real world. Engage them in gimbal walks or Kaizen events or plant tours at other locations where they have a thriving continuous improvement culture. And the last one, of course, is activate. And here's where to really help them develop proficiency in continuous improvement, develop a true continuous improvement mindset, to help them develop their own coaching capability, because a senior leader should be a coach for continuous improvement and really driving their business forward faster, is to pair them with the coach. If you're their direct report, they're probably not going to be comfortable with you also as their coach because it creates a conflict of authority. But by the time you've demonstrated, by the time you've educated them, you've simulated, they've probably met people or they probably had opportunities to find themselves a coach. But there's also nothing wrong with you introducing them to a good coach. I can tell you, as someone who provides coaching services to executives, is if you can just make the introduction for me, I can do the rest. I can build a relationship and do the rest from there. So especially if they're interested in getting better, if they're interested in learning how to be a better leader in a continuous improvement environment, an introduction is all an external coach might need. The key point I want to call out to all of this is that as an internal CI leader or even as an external CI leader, it's a sales job. And your job is to convince them that continuous improvement is the way to help them resolve the issues that are keeping them up at night. What's the hot item on their plate that they need to fix? What's the big problem that they need to solve? And help them understand how continuous improvement is a way to help them solve that problem more easily, more efficiently, less stress, and so forth. So by aligning your continuous improvement program behind what's most important for the leader, help them get clear on what's most important for them to improve, and aligning your CI efforts behind that, you got a much greater chance of getting their support in helping you to drive the CI program forward. Okay, last but not least, let's go through a few tips to help increase the effectiveness of your ability to influence senior leadership in adopting continuous improvement. Number 1, play the long game. Number 2, leverage outside resources. And number 3, demonstrate success, walk the talk. Let's dive into each of those here now. Number 1, play the long game. Be willing to lose the short-term battle in order to win the long-term war. That is a very strategic thinking. I remember when I first started my career as an industrial engineer, and I was coached to go out and advocate more strongly for, increasing productivity, driving changes, making improvements. And one of the questions I came back as a junior engineer was, okay, if I'm going to go out in here and battle, what's my sword? What am I battling with? What tools do I have to attack the bad and defend the good, right? The answer I got was a brilliant answer. Your tools as a continuous improvement professional is the truth. And the truth is backed up by, of course, data, direct observations, what's obvious and apparent with your own eyes, and what others who are close to the process or close to the value stream will testify to through interviewing and other means. That's your sword, essentially. That's what you have to go out and fight the good fight. Your shield is persistence. You're going to lose a lot of short-term battles, especially in an organization that does not have a strong CI culture. The politics will beat you in the short run almost every time. Essentially, you're a scientist and you're not just experimenting with changing processes and improving immediate business results. You're also experimenting with the organization. You're also experimenting with the leaders you're trying to influence. If you try something today and it's a total failure, just didn't work out, you take that back, you reflect on it, you figure out what you're going to try next, you come back the next day and you try something else, right? And you keep working down that process until you figure out what really works. Number 2, leverage outside resources. Use the immense universe of experts, expertise, thought leadership, and achievements and tools of influence that are out there and at your disposal. Folks like myself, who've been down that journey, I empathize with people who are internal to companies who don't have a good CI culture and they need to be influencers almost more than actually leaders of process improvement. I empathize with people like you because I've been there and I know how tough it is. And to some extent, I see it as inhumane what these companies are doing by bringing people in and not supporting them in their jobs. I know how frustrating, I know how stressful that can be. So I'm happy to share my knowledge and experience, what's worked for me, and just about everybody in the continuous improvement community is on the same page, right? The community is very open to sharing and helping you be successful in what you're trying to do, because success anywhere in continuous improvement is success everywhere. So it's a great thing. And number 3, of course, demonstrate success through your own actions, lead by example. In fact, let them see the process of improvement, because sometimes the process is not very beautiful, right? Let them see the sausage making that goes into improving a process, right? I had a plant manager who I brought into a SMED event once, and it was like a 4-day event. And after day 1 or day 2, I wasn't sure if this thing was going to come out well. I wasn't sure if it was going to go well. And I almost always feel like that. But by the end of it, somehow it tends to pull together. And if you apply that exact same process, the SMED methodology or root cause analysis or value stream mapping, all these tools are really great tools for producing repeatably good results. So let them engage in the process, let them see the sausage making, and they will start to see that this process consistently produces good results. And that confidence starts to help them further engage and adopt that continuous improvement mindset. So I want to make one last point before I end the video here, and that is the atom. The smallest building block that makes continuous improvement successful is the habit of daily improvement. This is the most fundamental building block that is used to create all forms and methodologies for CI. And the reason it's so powerful is because humans are creatures of habit more than anything else. Even though they think they're making decisions, they may think they're being objective, most times, 9 times out of 10, they're just following their habits. So if you can instill this habit of daily improvement, you've made a ton of headway toward creating a really strong culture of continuous improvement. And a great way of developing the habit of daily improvement is by taking the Improver Challenge. In 30 days, you'll be supplied with the technology, the coach, and the community to help you accelerate your continuous improvement journey. And once you succeed the challenge, you can be certified to become a coach and coach others along their way to developing this incredible habit as well. And in fact, we'll actually pay you to do so. This has been Calvin with Improver, encouraging you to learn, do, teach, and transform. Really hope you enjoyed the video. And if so, you can find this one and more just like it at improver.com. That's IMPRUVER.com. Otherwise, feel free to like, comment, and share below. And I look forward to engaging with you further on this topic. Have a great day. Thank you.